We live?
All right. Welcome everybody to another awesome episode of The Wise Men. This is the Underground Show. I am one of your hosts, DMAT,
I'm Louis.
And I'm Jesse.
and we got a little random but exciting, jam-packed episode tonight called Apocalypse Tomorrow. We're gonna have a bunch of interesting topics to go over and make you think, oh man, do I have a bug out bag? Do I have a go bag? Am I ready for the apocalypse tomorrow? So, but before we start the show, if you don't mind hitting that share button, give us a follow, and don't forget to like our page. All this kind of stuff does help support the show, and we love it. So, to start off the show, there's a lot of interesting things that are taking place this next month. One of the things that I had brought up earlier today was there's a huge emergency. There's an emergency alert system that's going to be going off on 10/4, which is October 4th, 2023. And they're doing it purposely on 10/4 because of what is it, a call sign? It's not a call sign, but it's a what do they call that, military?
10-4 isn't military, it's a civilian. It's a it could be also, what are they? No, they're not signals, they're 10 codes. They're just
10 codes. Okay. Yeah, so the FCC sent out a notice that they were going to be reaching all phones, all TVs, all electronics, basically anything that you can stream on, that they're going to be sending out an emergency alert. I don't know what really they're gonna broadcast as the emergency, since they're, I don't know if there really is going to be an emergency or not, but I'm assuming
it's supposed to be just a test, right? It's just
it's just a test
to make sure
yeah.
the system works.
Yeah, it's just a test, kind of like similar, like how we do an Amber Alert or whatever, something like that.
Or that accidental nuclear missile coming into
yeah,
to Hawaii a couple years. You remember that?
I remember that. Well, people were freaking out, dude. I mean, I remember like they were even
freak the fuck out too.
One guy, I think he got in his boat and he just started taking off.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Like
what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty smart to me.
He should have picked Jim Carrey up. He was supposedly on the shores waiting for the bomb to hit. That whole story's interesting.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I mean,
remember that?
That is also a good option. I mean, if it's coming, the fuck are you gonna do? You saw the nuke maps that I sent you the other day.
Yeah,
right.
It's depressing.
Like,
it's very unmotivating.
We'll talk about those nuke maps in a minute. So what do you? October 4th.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things coming according to the prepper sphere. There's rumblings. No one knows exactly, but the early October timeframe probably has a lot to do with potential government shutdown, with this FEMA alert or FCC alert or whatever. Other countries and our financial situations and goings on. There's a lot of people concerned about the early fourth quarter of 2023. So what do you?
I don't know.
What's one thing you think this thing might be about? Like this? Do you think it's just Do you think it's just a test, and they're just trying to see how many devices they can actually reach?
It could be something like that, because I mean, even if your phone is on airplane mode or it is in a like what do you call it? Like it's you're trying to take your phone off the radar to where like you don't have any bandwidth or anything, but you still do. So like it how I remember Snowden talking about this, I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's like, if your phone has a Wi-Fi ping or a 5GE, or I think at that point it was a 4G thing at that time, but it is pinging a routing system, so they know everything. They still are getting data information from your device. So I do think it could be something to where maybe they're going to test and see how many devices they can still reach, even if they're maybe in the off position, or if they're or mode, or I don't know. I mean,
To my understanding, like phones nowadays, that's one of the reasons they won't tell you, but one of the reasons that they still have or that they have non-removable batteries in them now is because they are never off.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they're off, they're not
Mm-hmm.
off.
I was
And
thinking that too.
they can still listen, like someone that knows what they're doing can
yeah.
still listen through your microphone. They can turn your camera on even when the phone is off.
So
Like the only way to avoid that is to have some like old flip phone where you can remove the battery,
And this is
or
like this is
or like put your phone in a signal proof case or something.
Faraday cage. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, Faraday bag
Yes.
or Faraday cage.
yeah, the official story, or notice that they put on the FEMA.gov website. I have it up right now. I'll give it a read. It says the EAS portion of the test will be sent to radios and televisions. That's interesting. I mean, I know like they would do tests on the radio or the televisions, but I've never seen it more frequent than like cell phones or anything like that. But it also says here this will be the 7th nationwide EAS test. FEMA and FCC are coordinating with EAS participants, wireless providers, emergency managers, and other stakeholders in preparation for this national test to minimize confusion and to maximize the public safety value of the test. The purpose of October 4th test is to ensure that the systems continue to be effective means of warning the public about emergencies, particularly those on the national level. In case of October 4th test is postponed due to widespread severe weather or other significant events, the backup testing date will be on October 11th.
11th. Yep.
Yeah.
I heard this too. So I heard this from I don't even know who this guy is, but some random guy said that there's gonna be, and I just want to jump into this because this is like such a creepy, like zombie apocalypse scenario. This guy is saying
let's
that,
do this. You know I love this shit.
yeah, this guy is saying that on the 4th, we're all gonna get the signal, and it's gonna be a certain frequency, and it's gonna make people go nuts because of a certain nanotech that they've injected into themselves.
Okay, so you're saying that the purpose of this test is not necessarily to like reach
I'm not
personal
saying this. This guy's
right.
saying
So
that.
right. So this guy's saying that it's not only to like reach personal devices or whatever. Basically, what the narrative I just got done reading. So it's more or less like a test to see how the public is going to react to the certain frequency.
He's
Now,
saying, yeah.
now
He's
because
saying that
there's not just like about the nanotech or anything like that, but there were studies back when 3G was a thing, that where they would put these 3G towers, and today they'll put these 5G towers and they'll put them in these communities, and they'll ramp up that frequency, and they'll start to see like different types of like how's the public reacting? Is there more riots? Is there more sickness, or is there more just violence within the community, stuff like
yeah.
that. I think this
Yeah,
was on
so-
like Alex Jones or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Time ago.
he covered all this stuff. So yeah, Louis, pull up that Rockefeller Institute article. And this is basically what this guy is saying. So this guy is saying that graphene oxide was in the vaccines, and everybody that took the vaccine has this in their body now, and that there's a certain frequency that the frequency reacts to the graphene oxide reacts to the frequency, thus basically controlling your mind or something like that. And there's actually a real study on this, performed on, I believe it was a rat study.
I wonder if it's not so much like control, but like more on like the influence level. Like kind of like,
oh yeah,
like it's not like they can control you with a joystick and you know they're
Right.
directing you where to go and what to do and what to think, which it could be.
Well, that's what the study says. The study says they were able to control, I believe it was the appetite of the rats, of the mice.
Yes.
And that's what it is, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, so pull that up once you get it.
yeah, I got them both up. I'll share with you guys if on the screen if you want. Share my screen.
And like right when this guy said this, I was just like, "Oh my god, this is so weird." Because just this article, this study alone is real, and it's just like, oh man, could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Yeah. So this go to that. Is it coming up for you guys?
Yep, I got it. I'm watching the stream, but it's just loading
I
in right now.
I do not.
Hang in there,
Hold on.
everybody. All right, here we go. Seek Rockefeller University.
Stream.
Okay, so this from article from Rockefeller University, 2017, April 1st, 2017. Flipping a switch inside the head.
Jeez.
New technology, scientists are able to exert wireless control over brain cells of mice with just the push of a button. First thing they did was make the mice hungry.
Holy jeez.
So this is the website is seek.rockefeller.edu/flipping a switch inside the head. In case anyone wants to look that up on their own. So it's basically the article goes through talking about different ways that they can deliver signals to neurons. There are limitations. You can use a wire directly in to the brain that can cause damage to nearby cells. There's using light and fiber optics and stuff. They decided to use sound instead. But the way they did it, so here it says, we've combined molecules already used in cells for other purposes in a manner that allows an invisible force to take control of an instinct as primal as hunger. Challenge was the researchers' first challenge was to find something in a neuron that could serve as an antenna to detect the incoming radio signal or magnetic field. The logical choice was ferritin, a protein that stores iron in cells in balloon-like particles just a dozen nanometers wide. Iron is essential to cells, but can also be toxic, so it is sequestered in ferritin particles until it is needed. Each ferritin particle carries within it thousands of grains of iron that wiggle around in response to a radio signal and shift and align when immersed in a magnetic field. So they're controlling the shape and how the iron particles are, right? Just with the sound and the magnetic field, right?
Yeah, it's
we all have these
specifically
particles stemming. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it's specifically graphene, right? I think they state that in the article.
Well,
I don't know
I
the
have another
difference
article.
between.
There's another article up here. But it says with equipment they use to send these two sending radio waves into the mice brain. One thing on here that I thought was interesting. Neurons involved in appetite. So, where was it? They outfit a brain for radio control, but it says, dang it. There's something specifically in here that says that they used a genetically engineered virus to
Oh my gosh.
as the delivery system.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is how I'm connecting dots here, right? So this is Rockefeller document. What was another Rockefeller document that we saw? What 20
here's
12,
this one.
12, 13 years ago? What do we got here?
Take 'em all
Did it
lockstep.
switch articles
Yeah.
or no?
Yes, yeah, I see
Hold
it.
on. You see it?
Yep. Radiogenics.
Radiogenetics.
Okay.
Wow.
So seeks to remotely control cells and genes. So this one, December 15th, 2014. This method allows one to wirelessly control the expressions of genes in a living animal. Where was it? Similar to the other one. Use radio waves for the on signal. See Veritane. So these two articles are kind of similar. Where was I? Apparently, this isn't the one that shows
Now, do you guys
what I
think
was
that
saying.
while you're
but-
thinking about that, do you think that like the 5G network has something to do with all this, especially with the 5G network stuff being passed into law and all that stuff? I think it was what, a year and a half ago that it had to be within there had to be 5G towers within a certain mileage within each other, kind of like how like at work, like our city has our hydrants have to be within like 300 feet of each other or whatever. It's kind of like the United States passed a law. I think it was a year and a half. I know Trump did it. I don't know. It wasn't a year and a half ago. This was in Trump's office. He passed some sort of executive order, 5G tower bullshit or whatever. And I remember seeing them starting to go up like crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember that I even pointed out to my wife one time. I was like, "Hey, let's see how many 5G towers we could see as we're driving on the way home." And we ended up pointing out, I think it had to be like maybe 8 or 9 5G towers, and we drove a span of maybe 12 miles, something like that. And we were on our way home from our property to Mount Dora. That's probably like maybe 12, 15 miles. And, you know, there were 5G towers all over the place. And it made me think too, like when we were flying home from Vegas, I would look and you could even see them like as you're coming into land, you know, you're like looking in the Orlando area and you can see them out there. Even in Vegas, you could see them out there, especially.
No, they're everywhere. And I think the excuse was that and I didn't know there was a law behind it, but the excuse is like 5G, the range is it's a stronger signal or whatnot,
Sure.
but
It's
the
wider.
range but the range needs to be closer.
Yeah, the bandwidth. It can move stuff really fast and can carry a lot of data, but the range isn't
right.
very.
Right.
Yeah, but I didn't know there was a law passed, and
I didn't either, and it makes sense.
Let me see. I'll see if I
So-
can pull it up.
now was this law like is this law like for 5G being needed, or is it like 5G like restrictions on 5G, like there can't be too many? Because that would make more sense if there was a law passed saying like, hey, this is kind of dangerous if you have them all together like this. You can only have this many
No,
this close.
It was probably more.
So this was at the end
if
of his. So go ahead.
I would say, just off the top of my head, like to use a system like 5G, the government can come in and say, like the companies can come in and be like, we want to put all these things here, and the cities and private people can be like, fuck off, we don't want your towers here.
Right.
If the government then comes in and says that it is now law that we have to have X, Y, and Z towers to create this network that we're trying to create,
Okay,
That
so
makes sense.
then towers can just fucking go up. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that makes sense.
Like
Yeah.
it's eminent domain at that point.
what's funny is that when I'm reading this right now, so it says President Donald Trump is unleashing America's 5G potential. This is to secure 5G networks and will absolutely be a vital link to America's prosperity and national security in the 21st century. This is his quote. And it says here, the administration announces that 100 megahertz of contiguous coast-to-coast mid-bandwidth spectrum will be made available for all commercial 5G development systems. So this kind of like goes in hand with the Agenda 21, because a part of the Agenda 21 plans is to try to bring internet everywhere. Like they're trying to globalize the internet, and they're specifically, you know, targeting the private sector and the you know, the low income section. But it kind of like makes sense with, first of all, I didn't see any change in bandwidth in the past 4 or 5 years with this. Their motto is like increase speeds, increase all this kind of stuff, but I didn't really see that. But it does say that the megahertz went from 3.45 to 3.55 per bandwidth. That's interesting.
Well, technically, that is an increase in speed, yes.
Yeah. So,
It's not that much.
but it's not
But
that
also,
much. Yeah.
Sound like much.
one thing you got to remember too is like every time there's an increase in technology, like if you give, it's like when the new consoles came out, right? Like you, all of a sudden these new consoles can do all these crazy new things, but they need bandwidth to be able to download all the things, right? Anytime there's a new technology that comes out that makes web pages and web browsers load faster because now it's a code, right? A new code that got developed. Like they just start stacking more stuff and more data into it. So even if you're able to get more speed, you're also using more. So you might not even notice that there's a speed change because it still just takes. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Sort
you
of.
have more speed, but you're also getting more shit.
Right.
What I want to say
So,
is like,
or better shit.
like I know what they're publicly saying, which I feel like these things have more potential than what they're claiming their purpose is, if you know what I'm saying. So like if they
All right,
say,
so
go ahead.
I was gonna say, let's take this right off the cliff into conspiracy land.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's do
Oh.
that.
All right, so we have let's tie all these things together a little bit. We have October 4th, where they're going to be sending a signal to every IoT, every Internet of Things device, right? TVs, the Samsung refrigerators with screens in them,
Love those.
like all the computers, radios, cell phones, which are they're just little radios, right? Fucking everything is catching this signal, right? We have a whole world and society full of a vaccine, right? That some have claimed that it has nanographene in it, right? Nanographite, so graphene in it, which is a type of metal, which I don't think it was in this article, but
Yeah, there was another article that I remember. I can't remember where it came from.
It says that it
Talks about graphene oxide.
and it reacts to sound as well. We have a whole network of basically the 5G connects everybody and everything,
Right.
right?
And then you got the supposedly, allegedly, the vaccines. I don't know if all, but the Pfizer and the Moderna people were saying that there was graphene oxide in the vaccines, and there was actually a recall in Japan. And there was, I can't remember how many, but there was hundreds of thousands of doses recalled, I think, maybe even millions, because they found there was heavy metals in the vaccine, and you could find that pretty quick.
Right. So we have with the FEMA and FCC alert. Typically, those come with a noise, right? A sound. Like all our devices are going to be going off like beep or whatever the fuck they feel like doing. What if, you know how we always talk about predictive programming? What if, do you remember that cartoon that we watched, Stevie?
Yeah,
When we
so
did the collusion?
yeah, if you go on YouTube and you type in Smart Mark cartoon, I'm sure you'll probably find one of the videos. I think it even says like Mark of the Beast or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. But then the movie Kingsman, you guys know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where Samuel L. Jackson was the villain, and he was just giving everybody phones, which we wouldn't have to do because Obama did it. Obama gave everybody Obama phones. But everybody else has phones anyway. Like homeless people have phones.
I mean, there's a 6-year-old kid down the street has a phone.
I mean, both
Yeah.
my kids have a phone and tablet, so like it's just part of our lives now, right? What if the signal comes out and all of a sudden it triggers some instead of triggering hunger, which it'd actually be kind of funny if it just triggered hunger in everybody.
Yeah.
And we're all like,
just eat yourself to
"Fuck, I
death.
got the munchies."
Oh my gosh, dude.
And it's just like a test to see like how much Carl's Jr. was eating that day or something like that.
Or it's
Yeah,
like,
so what if day one, October 4th, is it makes everybody hungry and we're all just we fucking go and get in pub subs or fucking rallies or some shit.
And then they're like, damn, that worked.
And then October 11th, round 2,
Oh yeah, yep.
they trigger the anger one. Or what if that's what they've been doing in all these cities that have been rioting?
dude,
What
Philly just had a riot.
What if they cause, a food shortage to just all of a sudden hit out of nowhere? And it really only takes a few days to clear the shelves off of a store.
3 days.
3 days, right?
If that. Right now it'd probably be less because there's a lot of stores that that are short on a lot of stuff already. So,
and it's funny, like I see it myself. Like I'll go to the store like at work at 9:30 in the morning and everything's stocked up, and then I'll go to dinner that night. And dude, I mean it's like a monsoon came through and just took everything off the shelves. It's crazy. Just in a normal day, right? So what if like there's some sort of supply issue, supply chain breakdown, and they've activated this, tech. Now you've really got like a domino effect kind of like lined up.
oh, like the hunger effect?
The hunger with no food. I'm thinking of zombies. I'm thinking of zombies, bro. I'm thinking zombies.
Yeah.
Start eating faces and shit. Everybody's running around eating each other.
I tell you what though, like if everybody else became hungry, like you would finally understand what it's like to be me. Because I'm fucking starving all the time.
Well, I know in the article too, the Rockefeller article, it did mention something about glucose, right? It did mention something about
Yeah, so it basically mimicked when it did that. It induced the body into thinking that the rat's blood sugar was low, which is what made them want to eat.
Bro, that's kind of insane, man.
And us, we know what people are like when their blood sugar is low, right? They're fucking zombies.
They're zombies, dude.
And they're aggressive. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they don't listen.
Yeah.
They're not they have no capacity. It's crazy. Man. Now, if this was to happen, I mean, what kind of time, what are we looking at as a result in the next, what are we looking in that 12-hour window? If this was to take place, I mean, we all of a sudden start to see vehicles crashing, people's blood sugars are dropping, they're becoming incoherent, no capacity. They're still living beings. They're just kind of like in this box world that they can't get out of. What are we looking at in the 12-hour window?
Oh man,
Well,
I just see
mean,
planes crashing. I'm like,
so
holy shit.
I'm gonna say that the two of you would probably be okay, more coherent because you didn't get your V card. I, on the other hand, will see what. Well, I'm gonna all my shit's gonna be a Faraday cage. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna hide from all devices. I'm gonna unplug my smart TV.
You're gonna hear your fucking neighbor's sound bar on blast or something.
Yeah, my wife's phones are gonna go off. And
I wonder if like you wear an actual tinfoil hat, will this help?
Oh yeah, there you go, dude.
what if
Like,
I
is
just
this-
put my head in the Faraday bag? Do that.
I mean, your brain,
my-
right, needs water, sugar, and salt, right?
So go,
it's kinda...
Louis. One of you go
Right.
over that real quick for the listeners and viewers. What is a Faraday bag or Faraday cage? What does it do?
I'm sure Louis
No?
knows it a lot better than me. He's wearing it on his head right now. He actually can't
Yeah,
hear you.
Lou-
He can't hear you at all right now.
Yeah, you probably couldn't even hear me. Yeah, Louis,
I
describe
could
the.
hear you. I was
Okay.
pretending. All right. So Faraday. Faraday is the name of the guy who came up with it. He was a scientist a long time ago. But basically, it is a metal device structure. You can have one as big as.
Hold a picture or something of these.
Okay. You can have one as big as a room, like a whole room. You can have one in a bag form. You can have some people make them, excuse me, out of ammo cans.
Yeah, I
You
was
can
just looking at
have
that.
you can make them out of trash cans, stuff like that. Some people say they're kind of bullshit. Microwaves are Faraday cages.
Okay.
Oh shit.
The-
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, it's microwaves. Those are radio waves, right? It's
Mhm.
nuking your food. It's exciting the electrons in there.
Is
But
this
you can
specific?
stand in front of it and stare at your food if you wanted to, and you're not being affected.
Which everyone
Because
has done their entire lives.
right, those radio signals are being stopped by the cage. You notice even the glass on microwaves.
Right.
It's not just glass. There's another little like metal shield on the other side.
Mesh.
So
or
so is
something.
this specifically for like EMF, or is this
Essentially radio waves, electromagnetic. So they have them systems designed for vehicles that help like shunt stuff. It's not really a Faraday, but it's like hardening against EMP and EMF.
yeah.
Let's see here.
And pretty
Sure,
much,
share my screen.
if you don't put your electronic devices, even LED lights, I was listening to a guy earlier talk about this. If you don't put your electronic devices, a hard drive for the computer, your phone, LED lights, walkie-talkies, if you don't put these
Well, everything's fried.
in the Faraday cage or Faraday bag, it will be fried. It will be useless. Right? Or is there a time frame, or is it literally fried?
It depends more on the strength of the pulse.
Right.
So if it's like say an EMP, it depends on where the EMP came from. If it was like a nuclear detonation or something like that, you're looking at like how close you were to it. Was there any shielding at all? And that'll kind of determine. And then the size of the detonation itself. Was it air burst? Was it ground burst? Like how many megatons, kilotons, size like that. If it was like a solar EME, like the coronal mass ejection, a CME,
Which is from
then
the sun, right?
that's from the sun. Yeah,
Okay.
like that could fry a lot of things. Probably more the grid. Some devices like there are man-made EMPs. Like you can make one with a 9-volt and a bunch of copper wire.
No doubt. That's awesome.
And
That's
but
great.
like oftentimes that'll just shut off your stuff.
Right.
Like they did a lot of tests. I want to say it was in the 90s where they tested a bunch of vehicles. I know I'm getting the numbers wrong, but let's just say like 50 different vehicles, and not just 50 of the same vehicle, but like different types, styles, and stuff, where they would drive them into an EMF field, like an EMP field, and the vehicle would shut off. Then they shut off the field, and like a good majority, like 60 to 70% of the vehicles were able to turn back on.
Okay.
But then this was
That's-
90s vehicles, which how many
that's-
90s vehicles are even left?
Right.
You know, like the
And there's so
technology on
much.
vehicles now are
Yeah.
so to the point.
They're probably screwed. You drive your brand new Cadillac through that field. You probably won't be able
Yeah,
to. It'll
I mean,
screw
at
everything.
best, yeah, you're gonna be throwing codes and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
so here, I just clicked on the. Sorry, I'm on the wrong thing. Let's go there. Let's see if this works. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Did it
She's
pop
in
up?
this- She's
So
ran a cage.
she is in a Faraday cage.
Gotcha.
So she's standing. That's kind of like a Tesla coil, essentially,
Mhm.
as well.
Right.
Like she's standing on a Tesla coil, but she's not getting hurt because the cage is catching it.
hmm
It's catching the electricity, the radio signal. Trying to
That's
see
not.
what else.
And
So
this is a
MRI machines are basically EMP machines, right?
okay.
Yeah.
So you can see here's shielding around an MRI machine.
Interesting.
So here at a power plant, they use metal shielding, and so some say it needs to be solid. I think it really depends on the thickness and the type of frequency. But so like all electricity creates electromagnetic fields, right? So that's why they put these cages around it. It kind of catches the magnetic field
Right.
and keeps it from going any farther. And that's the idea behind all Faraday cages. Like if you had one in your house or something, is you're just trying to isolate whatever your device is from the field by wrapping it in metal or a mesh, a fine mesh or something. Like here's some bags. I just bought a couple of these to throw my cell phone and a couple other sensitive devices.
Sick.
Did you see this big comment we got on here?
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to say one more thing about the graphene. You know, is it a conspiracy? Is it not? But what I found here is some validity to the subject, and here on the European Parliament website, which is a pretty serious source, it says an investigation by Dr. Richard Delgado Martin and the technical report by Dr. Pablo Campari, detection of graphene in COVID vaccines by micromanon spectroscopy, claimed that COVID-19 vaccines contain graphene. This is also related and reported by Corids. I'm not sure what Corids stands for. In 2018, they're a team of researchers that have proven the graphene is able to convert electronic signals into signals in the terahertz range with trillions of cycles per second, and have found traces of graphene within the mRNA vaccines. The silicon-based electronic components we use today generate clock speeds in the gigahertz range, where 1 gigahertz is equal to 1,000 million cycles per second. Wow. The scientists show that graphene can convert signals with these frequencies into signals with frequencies that are thousands of times higher than those created by silicon.
So what that says to me is that graphene is being used as an antenna and amplifier.
Wow.
Yep.
That's what I just understood.
Yeah. So this kind of like makes me think, now I know why, or I'm suspected why Pfizer, Moderna, specifically Pfizer, but they said that it would take 75 years for them to release their data within the COVID vaccines and stuff like that.
Right.
And if
I
you
remember that.
if you remember too, that I believe it might have been 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, maybe a year ago. I'm kind of about my time, but one of the Pfizer facilities burnt down to the ground
With all of the records for the whole company.
with all of the records. It almost makes me think too, like, you know, they said it was a conspiracy that the mRNA technology is penetrating the nucleus and is affecting the DNA, and that's not true, but that actually became false
Right, because that's exactly how mRNA works.
right.
Like mRNA creates cDNA, which then creates
Yes.
new DNA.
Right. Complementary DNA. If no one knows what C in the cDNA means, it means complementary DNA. And what's very interesting about that is that in 2012, the Senate passed. It was in the court of law, or it made it to the Supreme Court. Sorry, and I think I forget what genetics company it was between the Supreme Court, but they filed that complementary DNA can be patented.
I remember you sent me this.
Yeah, I'm not specifically sure what that means, how to patent someone's DNA, but what they were really talking about in the article was an example of like Monsanto, a genetically modifying organisms, in the food industry and stuff like that, to where they could profitize off of this. So I don't know really what that means, but the whole cDNA thing is very, very interesting. If you do dive down that rabbit hole, I mean, there's things, the way you read cDNA is with microarrays and all this specific type of technology, which is kind of like the way that the microarrays work is that they pick up the luciferase, which is also in the vaccine. If you look up luciferase, it's basically a bioluminescence component of the vaccine. So the fact that it's actually able to penetrate into the nucleus and convert DNA into something that could be patented, I'm not sure what that means down the road. I don't know.
They own
Just
you.
talking about this is making my vaccine site start to hurt.
Yeah. They own you now. That's, I guess, what that means then, right?
You guys watch
you're their property.
What was the name of that movie series? Divergent and
Oh yeah.
You ever watch those?
Mm-hmm.
You know how they this just made me think of that, is the soldier class. They all got that shot, and then they were under mind control.
Oh shit.
Yeah. They all got the shot, and then they were all under mind control, through this computer system. They were all able to be controlled.
I mean, this all sounds legit, man. This all sounds like it's all lining up.
Well,
when
you really go down that,
technology has existed since 2014, right? 2017, 2014.
What technology are we talking about? mRNA.
Well, no, controlling cells with sound and EMF.
Okay.
This sounds like there's a big plan somewhere in the future. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm really getting skeptical and I'm really putting my tinfoil hat on when I'm talking about this. But it seems like maybe there's going to be some sort of purpose down the road for all of this. It's just got to play dominoes until it gets there.
The
And
long game.
yeah, the long game, you know. So I don't know. Interesting stuff. Hey, Surgery, thank you, my man. Appreciate you. So so let's say shit goes crazy, right? And no one knows what's happening, but the people that are prepared have an idea of what may be going on. But this is going to call for some sort of national emergency, right? Like this is going to call for the president of the United States getting up on television and maybe declaring martial law or some sort of police state nationwide.
Wait, what? Hold on.
Well, okay.
What's going to cause this?
I'm just saying, let's say
There's
this
going to be some type of event.
let's say something happens, right? Due to
So there
frequency.
wasn't something specific.
Yeah, nothing specific, but we see that something's going on. It could be infrastructure damage, supply chain issues. It could be that this 5G,
all of the above.
All of the above, right? We're talking about a national emergency and you know, a state declared by the president to where it makes me just think of like FEMA camps. It just makes me think like I get that they're here and they're in place like for a good reason, but they literally sound and look like they're freaking concentration camps, bro.
Yeah.
Let's back up 1 second.
Yeah.
Why are they here and what is this good reason? Because I haven't heard a good reason for FEMA to
I'm
have
giving
any
it's more of like
camps
a No, I'm with you. It's
like,
more
this is
of
just
giving
reminiscent of World War II when they locked up the Japanese for being Japanese.
yeah. It's more of giving them the benefit of the doubt, but
Don't do that.
I'm
Never
not.
do that with the
Yeah,
government.
I've just
don't do
tried. So if no one knows, there's FEMA camps that are across nationwide, and there is a few of them in the state of Florida where I'm from, and I think there's 2 or 3 maybe in each state. They kind of cover regions. Now, one thing I do know is that a lot of these FEMA camps are connected to railroad systems, and there was a bunch of conspiracy going on. This could be probably 10 years ago about you know, what are they called, death crates or caskets or whatever.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the COVID stuff where they had all the people in the. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
the big trucks with all the
yeah.
dead people.
Well, no. Like, there's literal coffins that are at these FEMA camps. Now, I don't.
Oh right. Yeah.
That's what I'm
China
getting
has like
into.
a huge. China built like millions of coffins or something in one of theirs.
And
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
they're real simple, like just black coffins. Like, there's nothing really much to them. They're not like, you know, beautiful caskets, but like, it just makes me think that they're prepared for what, you know, like, again, there could be a bunch of speculation for this. The fact that they are right along the railroad systems is another what the fuck. But it makes me think of Rex 48. I mean 84. Rex 84.
Oh yeah.
So if no one knows what Rex 84 is, this was a classified, right? So no one knew about this. This is kind of like at Northwoods. No one knew about this. But it was a drill that really a scenario drill that went down. And so Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984, was a classified scenario and drill developed by the United States federal government to detain large numbers of United States citizens deemed to be national security threats in the event that the president declared a national emergency. So, okay.
That's pretty disturbing.
I mean, well, what do we see today, especially in politics? Like, we see the demonization of like patriots. We see the demonization of, people that are against the government's word. And they're becoming more familiar that a lot more Americans are becoming untrustworthy of what they're saying, right? So like, people aren't really trusting the government as much as they have been in the past. So when I was looking at the Department of Defense website and trying to look at what are they claiming, what groups are they claiming as national security threats, and there's a lot of people on, not specifically, but these are groups that you could easily fall into, that you would be a national security threat.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So that kind of blows my mind too, because I mean,
didn't Biden say that white supremacy is our number one greatest threat right now to domestic?
Yeah, he did. And I think in that speech he was given,
you guys do oppress me.
Like,
what'd you say?
I said you guys oppress me.
Oppress you.
But he was like really evil, like Hitler style in that speech. Like there was like red lighting behind him, and they said it was supposed to be like a reddish pink, but it was like dark red, and it was like black behind him. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck's going on, babe? Get the guns.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? So let's say a catastrophic event happens, and they want to let's just say 60,000 pounds of explosives have gone missing in the United States,
which just happened,
which just went down.
Well, a lot more than
60,000 pounds ago.
Yeah,
it was a lot more than 60,000 pounds, right?
60,000 tons.
Oh my god.
Yes. Yeah. Ammonium nitrate, right?
Yeah.
That just went missing. Where was that?
And nobody knows that. It was going from like Montana area towards California or something like that, and it disappeared in like North Utah or some shit.
Wasn't this right after? It wasn't before the whole.
It was like in February.
When was the Ohio deal where they had the big explosion and all that chemicals was leaking into the air, the smoke and all the? What was that? Where was that at?
That was like 8 months ago, wasn't it? That was
Something
about
like
the same time frame.
What the hell? Yeah, I was gonna say it was around the same time.
I sent you guys that article, didn't I?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I think it was after, because that would have been super fishy if it was before. I think it was after.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah, that just happened. What were you saying? So
well, it just makes me think like there could be another event taking place similar to a 9/11, a COVID-19, and then there's what is next. It could be
another false flag.
Yeah, another false flag.
I got to bring this up. So we got JT that said in the comment that the Senate, I remember this too. This just happened. 100 secure satellite phones were issued to senators and senior leaders in government. Just
oh yeah, when was this? That was like a year ago.
No, it was not even a year ago.
Yeah, it was about a year. It was about a year. It seemed like it was a year ago. Yeah,
between 6 months and a year ago.
Yeah, I swear it was this year. But regardless, it wasn't that long ago. I remember that happened too, and I'm like, why? What What do they know that we don't? Why didn't they already have satellite phones? And why do they have to make it known?
So I was just thinking of something. I don't know how this popped into my head, but it just popped into my head. All right. So one of the side effects of the vaccine known, like from Pfizer, from Moderna, from everyone, is heart issues, right?
Right. Myocarditis.
Right. And like there's been sudden deaths of young people, and like especially young people.
Young fit people particularly.
Well, they even came out with a thing called SADS, which is sudden adult death syndrome, which is something that's only significant in SIDS, which
like
is
infants.
infants.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenon that
Um,
they can't really figure out.
Which
Yeah.
is also SIDS probably does come from the same source as SADS comes from.
Other
Ultimately.
than oh, you mean vaccines?
Yeah, because when you look up SIDS, it's
Yeah, I
not going to
mean
give you like they don't know
kids do a
why
lot
it
of vaccines.
happens,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I
No,
wonder
well,
why.
what I'm getting at is people who got this vaccine, they're having heart issues. Um, what if all these folks accidentally activated the graphene while
Mm,
listening to music or
mm.
like, you know what I mean? Like they hit the right tone, they listen to the right song, it activates the graphene,
Oh
and
my
And
it's
then
not a
inflame
mind
gosh.
their
control. It's not a mind control.
No,
It's
it's
it's depopulation. It's giving motherfuckers heart attacks. Boom,
yes, a heart
you're
attack.
out.
Yeah, yep,
so
yep.
who's the guy that played in the movie what the Room 1408 or something? It was like a terrifying film. Who's the guy? Cusick?
Yeah, from Hot
Is
Tub.
it
Yep, John
Is it
Cusack.
John Cusack?
Cusack.
Cusack. Okay. So he was in a movie, I think it was called Cell. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's in an airport, right? And he's just chilling, he's making a phone call on a payphone, right? This is the thing that's significant in the scene. He's making a phone call off the payphone, and cell phones start ringing all around him, and he's seeing each person answering the phone, and they're like like they're like, you see the frequency of the phone call messing and turning this person into a raging maniac,
Right,
right?
right, right,
And so
right.
he sees every person starting to answer their phone, and the same symptoms are happening to each individual. And
It's like,
he's the only
thank
one
God
that's
I'm on a
yeah, he's the only one on a payphone, and he's like, hold on. And then his cell phone rings, and he's like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Not
know?
doing that. Yeah, yeah.
But what
okay.
if
That's
like
old Stephen King book, right? That's
He
Stephen
played
King.
in. He also played in Utopia. Did you guys ever watch Utopia?
yo my gosh, dude.
So they canceled the U.S. version. I watched the British version. Like they canceled the U.S. version because it, like season one was started when
Oh
like at the
my
very like they
gosh.
started playing it at the beginning of COVID, and like it was freaking so many people out because
Really?
it was it was too real. Like
So
it
what
was
I did not
matching.
even
No,
So
what
so
is it?
Utopia is about this virus that
Oh jeez.
starts hitting in, well, the British version starts hitting in England and spreading, but supposedly the epicenter is this, like where it started was this island off the coast. Well, then the government starts funding buying this vaccine from vaccine companies and like getting people to take it and like forcing people to take it. If they don't want to take it, they, there's repercussions and blah blah blah.
Same shit that actually happened.
Right. Like what happened in real life for us,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So, but as the story goes on, it ends up being, like I just said, a depopulation. But like, because the guy that engineered this particular virus, like it was an engineered virus, and they were doing this. They were
so
spreading it even more through the vaccine, and the vaccine was designed to kill everyone except. So he was in cahoots with all these big money people. Think Bill Gates and shit like that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But in fake show world, like
Right.
those type of people where
And now
they want to depopulate. But they ended up in the show. Spoiler alert. Um, the doctor that created it, he's like, yeah, I told him I was gonna make it do this, but fuck everybody. My people have been oppressed forever. It's gonna kill everybody except people who have my genetic marker. Like, so I think he was like Roma, so he was like gypsies. So it's gonna kill everybody except gypsies.
oh my gosh, dude. Oh man, dude. I have the scene pulled up right here. I wonder if I could play it like
Okay.
through my microphone. Let's see if we can. I'll play it low volume because
You
we'll
could.
see.
Oh, it is gonna get copyrighted if you play it on the.
Will it?
For chat, well, not on Discord, maybe on Twitch, probably on YouTube.
Well, Twitch, it would probably just be blocked out. Just a little segment of it would be redded out to where on the video on display it would mute that section of the video. But it's basically the scene where he's like tied up on the couch. This is the scene you're talking about. And like Dwight from The Office is like, "What did you put in that vaccine?" You know, and he's like, "What did you do?" And I swear, I swear, when this was popping off, dude, in like the heat of COVID, this had to be 2021. This came out, and I remember Louis told me about it. I went it up. I started going down this rabbit hole, and I'm watching all these scenes. And I'm like, "Holy shit, dude! This is literally like mirror image of what the hell is going on."
Yeah, and the weird, like, I watched it in, because it was 2020 when the vaccine like popped off.
Right.
Like 2019 was when I watched the British version. I didn't know that there was an American version.
Yeah.
Like the British version's fucking trippy. And so 2019, the end of 2019, I watched that, and then all of a sudden all this shit starts going down, and I'm like, they fucking scripted it. They put it in front of our face.
Yeah, they did.
Dude,
yeah, they did. And that's what they say about the consent deal. They're like, they can bypass the laws of karma if they just show you what they're doing before they do it to you.
Well,
it's
they
like
did.
Consenting.
But you're right about that. You're 100% right about that. But what a lot of people don't
right about it. But
no, you really are. But the one thing is that people don't know and that they're ignorant to is that they did say that this was going to happen. They did. They came out with the Rockefeller documents in 2010, Operation Lockstep. Read that, go through it, stop being a little bitch, and read the 80 pages because it's going to blow you away. It's going to blow you away, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is Event 201 took place. Event 201 took place 6 months before the outbreak happened.
Was that like Order 66?
Yeah, it's like all the globalists, everyone got together.
Though, right?
Bill Gates,
like heading it.
Yeah, I mean, it was the World Health Organization. Everyone was the NIH. Everyone it was a huge council event that was publicly aired. Okay, you know, with probably 40 people watching on YouTube, right? You know, I mean, what they did is they talked about a pandemic virus that all they were doing is bound to happen. It was a scenario-based council meeting that took place, and then what do you know? 4 or 5 months later, boom.
Yeah,
you know?
Bill Gates was like, yeah, this is inevitable. Like he used those types of words. Like he's like, this is gonna happen. And even Fauci said the same thing. Didn't Fauci say during Trump's presidency he's gonna have to deal with viruses? And I think he was talking like it always happens. Like there's always a new virus. Well, there really wasn't. There really wasn't anything like this. There was just the flu. There was, you know, I mean, there was the SARS virus over, and you know they had their breakout, and like when was the SARS-CoV first broke out in China or something like that?
Like, you know what's even more? You know what's even more interesting? The Rothschilds. I think it was Jacob Rothschild came out with a patent in 2017 of COVID testing. For COVID testing, he came out with this in 2017. He came out with this.
17. I was
with this patent. This came out before even all this shit was real life.
Well, COVID is not new.
Okay, when I mean COVID, I meant coronavirus testing. Coronavirus.
Yes, that's what COVID stands for.
Yes.
But like coronaviruses have existed.
Right.
You know, but you know what I find kind of funny? When we were all going through our testing and stuff at work, Sean got results after one of his tests one time, and he showed it to me. He's like, I'm negative. And I look at it and I'm like, did they test you for the right thing? And he's like, what the fuck you mean?
Oh yeah.
So looking at his results, it just said COVID or like just COVID, right?
Yeah.
And like other people's result, because
it didn't say SARS-CoV-2, right? It didn't say specifically.
It didn't say.
Right.
I'm like, are they even testing you for the right shit? Like,
dude.
I remember that was a thing too. They were just testing for coronavirus, which is just the common cold. right?
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You know?
exactly. It is the common cold. But another thing that was like mind blowing too, because I went down there. This absorbed my life, bro. And it's funny we're bringing this back.
Absorb all of our lives,
I feel
bro.
like it was like 10 years ago, but it absorbed my
I
life to the
ignored it
point
all.
to where like I was just like researching all kinds of stuff about this. And I mean, I even know how big in nanometers that the virus was claimed to be. But
That's right. I remember.
yeah,
And
right?
that's after we
Yeah.
discussed even more because I already thought it was fucking stupid that we were wearing masks.
Mass,
But
right?
after
Yeah.
that conversation, I was like, these things are fucking pointless.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Crazy, man. Crazy. Jeez.
Oh yeah.
What a fucking psyop, dude. Well, what's his name? I forget what his name is 100%, but he's the guy who invented the mRNA technology.
Robert Malone.
Robert Malone, yeah. So he even says that he claims this entire operation to be what's called
Oh yeah.
was it
Mass psychosis, mass formation psychosis, or
formation psychosis, yes.
something like that. Yeah.
So, but that's just another, that's the part of the Hegelian dialect, right? So you have a problem, reaction, solution.
I'll solve it.
So he kind of like he was predicting, or he said what the reaction of the people was, and he claims it to be mass formation psychosis, which I believe in that 100% because
Oh yeah.
you saw how many people were just kind of falling into all of the experts and the people around him. But what a lot of people too don't know, what was a part of that psychosis was like, it was all about getting the jab in a way to where people I even saw it myself where people were like, I'm not getting that, I'm never going to get it, and then they would end up being pushed through
Yeah.
fear and then getting it. But they felt more comfortable getting it because other people were getting it, and they were like,
Right.
oh. And then they even felt even more comfortable when they were satisfied that they weren't the only one that did get it, because then they were like having second thoughts
Right.
about like, oh shoot. Huge operation, man. Crazy. But
Yeah, I
now
remember
talking
my mom.
go ahead.
I remember my mom getting it, and I kept telling her for fucking over a year, don't get anything. If the government tells you to take something, don't get it, don't take it, don't do it. And then she ended up, she never gonna listen to me, but she ended up taking the Johnson & Johnson, and right after she took it, it got recalled for blood clots. And I'm like, I don't know what I was like. I told you, I was like, but nothing happened to her. She's fine. She's healthy.
Now,
She's fine.
the blood
But
clot
I'm like,
thing is pretty valid, bro. Like, I mean,
oh, dude,
especially
talk about
with
that. Yeah.
especially with me working in clinical research and actually processing people's blood that are not only, have the one shot, or if they're double boosted or triple boosted. Like, I was dealing on the spectrum of all of this stuff.
So describe your job title. Like, what was the purpose of your job? Like, what were you
Yeah,
specifically
so
testing the blood for?
so we're not specific. I'm not specifically testing the blood for anything. So what I am is I'm a lab technician. So I basically, extract the blood, process it, package it, and then send it off to the testing sites. So, but one thing that we do is that when we take the blood, there's certain vials that we use, not vials, but tubes that we use. Some of these tubes have certain chemicals in them to prevent clotting and things like that. But what I was seeing is that I would see a trend, right? So it's as easily as calling it observable evidence. You extract blood from people that are not part of this study, and you could see the difference between this person's blood compared to this other person's blood that's a part of a totally different study. And you can see it by, well, how I saw it was clotting factors. So if I'm doing like an RSV study, right, which is, a respiratory, a different type of virus, but it's totally different technology than mRNA technology. I would extract this one person's blood, see that it clotted within the normal time frame, 5 minutes, this, all that. And when I would extract people's blood from, mRNA studies, specifically, Moderna and Pfizer, these people's blood would clot like within 30 seconds. I remember seeing videos, and this is before I centrifuged any of this kind of stuff. Because I would draw
right out of the vein.
This is right out of the vein into the tube. I would literally just set the tube in a tray, which keeps it nice and organized in a vertical position. And after I would get done, drawing all this person's blood, sometimes I would draw 12, tubes, 15 tubes, 20 tubes. I mean, a lot of blood, right? It would take probably maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes to kind of, do all this kind of stuff. And so I would invert the tubes after 2 minutes. I wouldn't let them sit for longer than 2 minutes. And like, you could see that the blood was coagulating faster than what I would see in other patients. So, but the one thing that really, and that could be, speculated on, right? It could just be that they're dehydrated, they're not drinking enough, all this other kind of stuff, right? But the one thing that I did notice that was crazy is we had 5 patients come in, all part of the same study, triple boosted, and they all came in for a sick visit. They all came in because they were sick, and whenever they're instructed that when they're sick, they have to come in and we have to draw blood. And so 5 people in a row, I centrifuged their blood for probably over 25 minutes, 2 separate times, and we were finding high fibrin clots in these tubes.
Wow.
That literally,
I've seen those.
Yeah, I mean, I've shown some people what they look like and stuff, without violating any HIPAA laws, of course, right? But that was insane. And I even remember telling the other lab tech that was there, who he was like the captain lab tech, he's been working there 20 years. I noticed something was weird because he would go, "What the fuck?" Like every time he would like take them out of the centrifuge, he'd be like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I was like, "You ever seen that before?" And he's like, "Never seen this before. Not, and if anything, it's never been this bad." And so these high fibrin clots, which is, components of the blood, not breaking down, that they were big, bro. Like these things, I even took one out and put it on a little piece of cloth.
I think you
it was like an inch long, dude. These things were like alien looking clots that were taken out of these vials, and I had to take them out because I had to get the serum out in order to put it in the test tubes and send it off, right? So that, when I saw that, I was like, because I was kind of skeptic, through the power of discernment, of course, with videos on YouTube or TikTok of people like in the same atmosphere of being a lab tech going, "I've never seen the blood clot like this," and they're, maybe it's clickbait, maybe it's this, right? Because it's a high trending topic, right? We know, especially in the social media field and the entertainment field, that we like to do things that are trending, right? Because a lot of people watch it, get into it, get 30,000 views and get out. But when I saw it happen for myself, oh shit moment, going, I need to look into this. I need to look deeper into this. What is in this? And then, my rabbit hole started kind of like from there. And that's kind of like what led me, kind of like how Louis said before, like cDNA, all this kind of stuff. Because that's what happens when you do research mRNA.
I just had another thought.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So, in those Rockefeller articles, it was talking about sound, right? The sound with the ferritin, which is in iron. Iron is in blood. The cells, right? The red blood cells. That's what makes them red when oxygen attaches to them. What if somehow the sound was activating the iron in your blood cells, the red blood cells, and that's what's causing the clots?
The fuck? Dude. Oh my gosh. Dude, and what if this has something to do with and maybe we can do a show on this because there are patents out for it, but like chemtrails, right? what if there's some sort of
Vaccine in the chemtrails.
no, but the fact that the oh shoot, we lost Jesse, but it's okay, we'll get him back. My theory is like my hypothesis is that if people are more exposed to you know, high contents of heavy metals.
So it's our internet. Oh,
Oh,
shit.
well, we got Jesse back.
Okay.
Hold on, stand by. I want to keep him in for this content here. There he
Hey,
is.
were you guys live the whole time? My internet must have just shut down for a second.
Are you?
You
Is
hold-
your Audacity good? Everything good?
Probably not. Oh wait, it's still going.
Let's
So my internet
go.
just got
get affected.
Let's go. All right,
my
so
internet just
Jesse, my hypothesis
bad.
is this, right? Kind of piggybacking off of what Louis said. What if to aid to this situation, right, to the more blood clots and all this stuff, that they kind of expose us more to heavy metals than we naturally would be, right? So like more heavy metals in foods, more heavy metals in the air, more heavy metals that are in the air settle, get into the food, kind of things like that. Um, maybe it's something that is kind of possible to, like, you know, build
Different
up that.
metals provide different effects, kind of like with fireworks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh,
Like
shit.
iron does this with sound,
All right.
but then like maybe a little bit. I mean, lead's pretty toxic, so if you got too much, you're fucked up anyway. But like if you have some other metal in your system, it creates something else. Like calcium's a metal, and and it's one we need. So if it was higher,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So
Spitball.
what's your hypothesis here? What's your theory here?
Oh, that you know, creating more
being built
sickness, creating more blood clots, all this kind of stuff. With, you know, increasing the exposure to heavy metals, you know, especially in the water systems. You know, you have arsenic, you've got
Mm-hmm.
other things, increasing it in the food supply, you know, putting it in the air supply, all this other kind of stuff. Barium, aluminum,
And
all
that
this
is a
other,
big problem.
you know.
That's a big problem that a lot of people have. It's like, what's that guy? That big tall guy, Tim Robbins, or who the guy that does the motivational speaking? Giant guy, that Tim Robbins. Oh, what's his name?
I just
Tony
thought
Robbins.
of something.
Anthony Robbins. Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
Okay.
Tim
what's
Robbins
your-
is an actor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a motivational speaker. Well, he went on a little campaign, a heavy metal campaign, saying like a lot of people have heavy metal poisoning. They don't even know, so they should go get checked.
Right.
Interesting. Anyways, what's your deal?
I'm going to change the subject back to these satellite phones. So I was just reading.
Okay.
That's your dad, right? That made that comment.
Yeah, that's my daddy. Yes, sir. Shout
So
out to my daddy.
I agree with what he says. The 5G's intent was to increase mobile phone streaming because that's
yeah.
a big deal to us.
For sure.
But obviously, all technologies can be used for evil with the right person behind the wheel. But his previous comment about them receiving satellite phones recently, and in case of a disruptive event, right? Who just gave up
Right.
control of all their satellites to the U.S. government?
Oh,
Elon
my
Musk.
gosh.
He did.
Oh yeah.
He just get and obviously that's for like web-based, like it's internet. But like I don't know if any of those.
Is it he gave them all up, or I thought he just gave up a portion of
You're
I
really
didn't
breaking up, Jesse.
all
It's
his
hard to
satellites.
understand you.
Is that the truth?
Jesse, your internet's a little slow, brother. You're breaking up just a little bit.
I can see that.
They might be
It
attacking your
says that.
bandwidth.
I don't know what the deal is.
Get on the 5G network.
They
Yeah.
probably are.
Put a tinfoil hat over your computer. Dude, so have you guys ever taken a look, kind of talking about this subject? Louis, I think you'll probably be interested in this. Let me see if I can pull this up, because I want to try and decode this with you guys. I have my own opinion in my decoding methods here, but I want to see what you guys, how you break this down.
You have a cipher?
So this is the Abraham Accords coin, and I don't know if I've ever showed this to you guys, but it is full of symbolism. And so perfect. I have a little zoom in little thing here, so I will share my screen. We'll go over this, folks. This has things to do with satellites. I honestly want to. I think this is telling us the future. Which is crazy. So let me share my screen here. Let me know if you guys get it, and we'll go from here. Do you see it?
One sec. Bringing it up right now.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a scimitar that turns into.
We have a scimitar. Yep. So the scimitar, what I noticed is the only thing that I see on the streets as far as like a scimitar is the Shriners. So the Shriners is a society that is kind of like Freemasons, but they claim to be an earlier.
Well, they're the fun part of Freemasons, right?
Right. Yeah. I know some Shriners actually.
There we go.
Okay.
That actually looks like a Mameluke handle.
Mameluke.
The Mameluke sword.
Looks like little Ishtar symbols that are kind of like in the middle of the handle, or they're not like gears like over here, but they kind of look like 7-pointed stars.
See, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8. No, wait. 2, 4, 6. That's 9.
9. Okay. Oh, look, there's a Mason symbol right there on the handle. You see it? Oh no, or is that like an A? Like a
It's like an anarchy. It's an upside down A.
Upside down A. Oh man. So this first symbol here, this grid. This made me think of like blockchain. Is this blockchain tech?
It looks like a circuit board to me.
Or a circuit board. So what I want you to do right now, do you have your wallet with you?
Yes.
Okay. Take out a credit card that has an RFID chip on it.
I don't have my wallet on me. My internet's good now. I don't know why that did that, but
so if you look at where you would normally scan your chip or put your chip into the
or not
transaction system, it looks like the grid system similar to those chips.
No.
No? Okay. It looks like mine on my credit card. It might differ others. I'm not sure. It's not exactly the same, but
talking about,
I can see that it kind of.
I think that's
possibly,
you're talking about like that computer.
Could be stretch.
I think
talking about like
that looks very much like a
symbol or whatever.
PCB to me.
Okay. Yeah, just like a normal motherboard
microchip
type
or something.
Yeah, printed circuit board.
So something to do with technology. We have a heart symbol with a heart rate in it, which makes me think of what they want to do with wearable technology now to kind of like monitor brainwave, heart rate, blood pressure, all this kind of stuff. Kind of plays into human activity data. Next to that symbol, which is this triangle here with circles on the end of it. This symbol is in the United Nations document. I believe it's called the Common Agenda, I believe it's called. which they released, I think, a few months ago. I've seen this symbol all over the place in it. Then you see the syringes, right? One of them looks like a syringe. The other one looks kind of like, I'm not sure what that is behind it. I don't know. Interesting. Then you see satellites, right? We have a satellite symbol here. And we have
Yeah,
gears.
there's syringes in there. That's a little weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. We've got gears rolling. And we have binary code, which makes me think of computing. That and the Matrix. Then this palm tree right here. So when I researched this palm tree, it's not, if you see those things hanging just below the palm tree there.
The nuts.
So if you look up date palm, if you look up what date palm is, it means phoenix. So like, let me see if I can look up. Yeah, it means phoenix. So date palm. Right? So date palm, and it means phoenix species. So when I saw that, I don't know if you guys can you see what I'm saying or no?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this made me think of the United Nations mural, which they have a phoenix rising on the center of a table, and everyone is like kind of like everything around it is I guess in a way not focused on it, but there's things happening around this phoenix, but the phoenix is the main center point of the mural. Which I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Might be a stretch. And then right here, the satellites with Wi-Fi capability. Going to the Dove of Peace. And then the last thing.
Spaceship.
Yep, and a spaceship. And the last thing.
Last thing looks like a spaceship.
The last thing is actually Saturn.
Yeah, it looks like a UFO.
Saturn.
It's Saturn, but it looks like a fucking UFO.
It looks like a UFO, right?
A little bit.
Saturn, if you go down that rabbit hole, I'm sure you'll probably find a lot of things pertaining to the same thing. And I just found it all kind of interesting. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What the fuck does this mean?
I mean,
it could be.
I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Right. But there's no...
At first glance, nothing on there seems nefarious to me, especially considering what they...
I mean, it's very weird, though.
Yeah, it is
You got
weird.
syringes, you got a heartbeat. It's a little weird.
So they have technology, they have health, they have other sciences, and all of it's moving towards peace. You got to remember, all these countries, like, they've just been fighting each other and keeping each other second world, like developing countries forever, because they're always fucking with each other.
True.
So
that's true. That 100% towards the dove. Everything's going towards the dove, and the dove is peace,
but
right?
but then it's peace. Saturn
represents
over the
like
dove.
Satan. Doesn't Saturn represent Satan or something like that?
Well, there's a lot of resources that can relate to that. I find it interesting. It can be not nefarious. You're right, but I do think that it also can be at the same time. It's it's like what you said. Like technology's made. Yeah, it's like technology's made to do good, but if it's in the wrong hands, we might have a issue, Houston. Don't know. Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of cover that with you, since we were talking pretty much about the 5G, which we got satellites, the vaccines, all this kind of stuff. It kind of made me made me think of the symbolism in that. And
We haven't talked.
Donald Trump's signature's on the bottom of that.
Well, he was one of the chief
Right.
architects of that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I think that's probably because what Jared Kushner.
oh well, yeah. Well, we don't want to be
Jared Kushner's
anti-Semite
Jewish,
on
married
this.
his daughter.
And then converted
Right.
her to
Well, that's
Jewish,
what
and
it
then
is.
converted him to Jewish, and then
Right.
they all became Jewish.
Sounds like it.
I always wondered,
Pretty
like,
much.
why is he still the president of the United States, and we just have no idea? and Biden's
Have you guys
not.
heard?
I've heard some sort of
Have
talk
you heard
about
about
this.
devolution? Devolution. I haven't looked into it, but there's a guy on YouTube that pretty much says that the government, the military is in control of the United States government. The military is in control of the country, and Biden is not. And this is pretty much summed up. I didn't look into it very much, but I was told to look into it. It's a bunch of series of videos called Devolution about how the military is actually still in control and it has nothing to do. Biden is not, or something like that. It's
I
pretty weird
can agree with
they brought that up though.
Biden not being in control. I totally agree with that
Yeah.
because it's obvious that
Well, yeah, that's obvious.
he
That's
isn't.
obvious. Yeah.
As far as it being the military that's in charge, I don't know. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I feel like
He's like he
it
goes
would.
through this
I feel like it
whole
would still be just like a handful of people in a meeting making decisions. You know what I mean? Or getting told to do things by other people with actual money and power.
Oh,
right.
for sure, for sure.
Right. We haven't even talked about bugging out. We brought that up in the beginning.
All right,
You
so
guys
I
wanna
guess we
jump
can.
into
Yeah,
that
we can.
or just exclude it?
Yeah, we can close on how to prep for all this crazy ass stuff that we're talking about tonight.
Right.
So, if no one knows what a bug out bag
I'll
is,
just-
yeah, you could easily go look it up.
Great transition.
But
Yeah.
it's basically an oh shit bag. If the grid goes down, if you need supplies to sustain yourself and your family, away from your home, I believe that is a lot of the things that would consist of a bug out bag. And Louis is a top notch dude. He's the jam up guy to kind of go over this subject for sure. So Louis, what do you think we should have if we were to have to abandon our fort or leave our home?
Well, I'd say to start, do everything you can to not. But if you have to, your best bug out bag is going to be your vehicle.
True.
First and foremost. Like if you can take your car with you or a whatever vehicle, like you're gonna be way better off getting at least a good bit down the road before you gotta get on foot. If you're on foot, you're in a bad place. Like especially guys like us, it's not just us. Like we have our families, right?
Right.
So and that's why I say like if you can stay where you are, like you have a shelter, possibly have water, you have supplies and stuff. But if you have to leave, fucking take a vehicle with you. Don't go on foot if you can avoid it. So
I agree.
So that's that's your first bag. Should you end up on foot, like the idea of bugging out it shouldn't be to go just off into the woods or out into the desert and try and survive, right? Like for no offense to those who that's their plan, that's fucking stupid, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, it's not a good.
that's like there's people who make a living at like practicing survivalism, right? And like there's been time and time again these folks without outside intervention of some sort of food or whatever, like they can go 6 months right? They can do, X amount of time, but they can't. It's not a sustainable thing. It's, at least not by yourself. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's extra, like in most, especially in most of our areas, like we're not gonna find the appropriate nutrients to keep ourselves alive, and like
Right.
we don't even know how to procure those anymore.
I
Like
know.
it's
We're
just
so
not a thing.
conditioned to just go to the store if we're hungry or, you
Right,
know.
but even if you knew how to like gather all these things, right? Like you're even like in the old West times and even when they had to have their own gardens and stuff, like none of us have our own gardens. So unless you happen to have one, which you can't take it with you when you bug out, right? So you have to be able to forage and gather or hunt. That leaves you lacking a lot of nutrients that your body is going to need
Yeah.
in most areas.
Uh,
Uh,
I think you
but
can go ahead.
go ahead, you
No,
first.
I think that it's I mean, I think if you were to not if you were to go without food, I think you have a good chance of going like 14 days without food. I think at any type of nourishment of or not nourishment, but uh physical stature. Like I feel like if you're fat, if you're skinny, if you're, average, then you still can last 14 days without food. I think it's water and dehydration that you'd probably be fighting first.
No, absolutely, but
Yeah.
that's what I mean though. Like if you're bugging out, it shouldn't be to unless you have like a cabin in the woods that is like sustainable. Like
Right.
then sure, yeah,
Yeah.
go out to the woods, right? You need to be going to a location if you're bugging out, whether it be like your bug out location that you have set up or a family member's place somewhere else so that you can have, more hands make light work kind of deal. But like bug outs need to be it shouldn't be long term in the woods necessarily. Because yeah, like if you have just a
Mhm.
couple days food on you, it should be because you have a couple day journey to get to where you're going and that should be the end of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. What if it
Uh,
becomes like a society to where like, these basically the shit we just talked about did happen to where like these graphene oxide zombies, you'd might be one of them. No, I'm just kidding.
I might be.
You would fight it.
Well,
You'd be like trying to like turn into the Hulk, but you'd be like, no, I'm Bruce Banner. Yar. You'd rip it out of your body. Right? But
Well,
what
rip
if it
himself.
did become as, I mean, let's just, if it did become as hectic as we were kind of like speculating on earlier, I feel like being close to society would be detrimental to your safety and the safety of your family. But so the bugging out idea of going out into the middle of nowhere, like I've already thought about that and I'm kind of like comfortable with the thought, not comfortable with actually going to do it. But that would be the only reason I think if I was to do something like that. Like if I was to abandon my position at my property and then leave into the forest, then I'm understanding also that I'm never going back. Like this is the last
Right. You're
route.
leaving because this is the only way to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But like what's your plan in the woods?
My plan would be like secure or it would be location number one. So like find an area that has the resources within close proximity, like water,
Yeah.
elevation, because you just got
So
to
I mean,
think of flooding and stuff
but
like that.
so that's gotta like that really needs to be pre-planned
Yeah,
Right.
because again, it's not just you. If you're a single person, sure, whatever. Like you can find shelter anywhere,
right.
right? You can make shit work. We have families. So
Yes. So it's baggage.
that's
Not in a
so
bad
but
way.
there
Sorry, Britt.
no, no, no. But there's like so
Wow.
there's different schools of thought on um and I'm going based on what I've read about actual shit hit the fan events that have happened in other countries. Like Argentina, Venezuela, Like those are cities, right?
Mhm.
So or major countries. They weren't like underdeveloped necessarily. You know what I
Right.
mean? They were in Argentina, especially. It was a first world country. When their financial system took a shit, like people starved. People started starving. What they found was even in like suburban areas, or urban areas, even like the areas that were already had like violence and gang stuff going on, um, they honestly didn't change all that much, is what they found, because those people were already accustomed to not having enough. They were already
Right.
accustomed to the violence. They were already accustomed to people getting shot around the corner. You know what I mean? Like to them,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really change all that much. The suburbs changed some, but what they found was the neighborhoods that were able to band together. Like if you in your street or your like smaller neighborhood, if you already had a community built up, as far as you knew your neighbors and stuff, and you talked, you guys could protect each other and keep an eye out for each other. If you didn't know your neighbors or talk to them, you had an issue. They found often that the people that lived out in rural communities, because they were so far apart from each other, the farmers would be fucking murdered, and then like their farms would be taken over by gangs because they were out there
Damn.
by themselves, or it was just husband, wife, and kids, and no one was close enough to help them.
Yeah,
Um,
jeez.
Yeah, that makes sense.
so that's what they ended up fi- like seeing and noticing. And so like farmers, if they wanted to survive, they would have to abandon their farms sometimes and find other ways to survive. So it comes down to like in a real nasty situation, like you can't be by yourself. As much as you want to bug out, like you got to
Right.
sleep sometime. If you're asleep and nobody's watching, you're a fucking sitting duck.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
if you're
Yep.
by yourself or it's just you and your family, gunfights happen. It's or just fist fights, right? Or
Mhm.
you just trip and roll your ankle. Now, who's gonna take care of your family? You can't defend them
Yep.
appropriately anymore. You can't provide for them appropriately. You can't forage for food. You can't hunt for food. You can't go get water. You can't carry the heavy stuff just because you rolled your ankle.
I know.
You
Jeez.
know, so
It's
you have to
crazy.
have other people who can help carry the weight, who can help stand watch, who can help. Like if you're trying to farm and garden, you're not watching out for people sneaking up on you. You know what I mean? You're trying to
Mhm.
take care of an animal, your back's turned to everything. It's not like real shit hit the fan stuff is not lone wolf stuff. Like you're it's not going to be a good day for you.
Right.
You might be able to forage or something by yourself, but then you're always, you're risking something happening to you by yourself.
Oh yeah. No, for sure.
So I mean, and I just
For
take that
sure.
from excerpts that I've read of real events that have happened in other countries. Like we can't say that it will never happen here. We're seeing the signs of it happening here in the United States, like the financial collapse stuff. And financial collapse
Right.
leads to
Right.
people going hungry. You
Yeah.
know, people. I mean, even if even in our own history as a country, you go back to the Great Depression. Like people starved. When people lost all their money, they committed suicide. Like families were left just trying to figure shit out.
Isn't that freaking nuts, dude? Dude, the
And
financial system is so um powerful, man, in people's lives. Like they don't it's such a grip on your life to where if that does go
Yeah.
down, oh my gosh, I mean it's going to stir up the pot like you couldn't believe. Like it's going to
well,
mix up everything.
think about like money isn't worth what it used to be. So now, even if they just changed it, right? Like, or they gave us like tokens now instead of our U.S. dollars.
Mhm.
Um, Now they have even more control over what we can spend our money on or how much we can spend
Oh
in a
yeah.
day, or like you all of a sudden you don't have authorization to buy fuel today because it's not your turn or something. You know what I mean?
Or you
There's
ate too much
stupid.
Or
meat or
your
this or that.
carbon,
You're
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, but barring all that, like when people are starving, they're gonna start killing animals, right? Like during the Great Depression, we almost made the white-tailed deer go extinct in our country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't
Oh
Like
yeah.
know that.
squirrels disappeared in areas
Jeez.
completely, right? Think of how
Damn.
fewer people and how many more animals there were back then in the 20s, right? Or I guess that was the 30s, in the 30s. Think of that. Imagine now how fewer animals there are, how fast that's going to disappear.
Oh yeah, more
Jeez.
people. Yeah, for sure.
You know, um, so it's a scary thought. It really is.
It
But
is.
I mean, we kind of went off the topic
Yeah.
of bug
That's
out
okay.
bags. But like,
If
if you are going to have a bug out bag, obviously with the purpose of getting somewhere, you're going to need some sort of defensive tool. And this is honestly in no particular order for the bag. What you're going to need a a bag, obviously. It needs to be comfortable. You need to practice with it a little bit at the very least so you know how to adjust it. It should be adjustable, in my opinion. It should have different straps that you can adjust so that
like
you can get it
waist
to fit on
straps,
you.
chest
Waist
strap.
strap, shoulder strap, chest strap, like all the things, and you
hmm
need to put it on with some weight. Um,
Go for a
and if
walk.
you're, yeah,
Yeah.
just walk with it. Um, like bugging out is not like walking with weight, just walking alone, but walking with weight's a big deal. Like your feet are gonna hurt afterwards.
hmm
Your shoulders are gonna hurt, your back's gonna hurt. So you want this thing to be as light as it can be. Obviously, not everybody has super weight, backpacking gear and shit, but make it as light as it can be. You probably want some type of shelter system in there, whether it be like a poncho or a tarp or just a bivy sack, um, something that you can crawl into when it's time to sleep or shelter yourself if it starts raining. Um, you'll want a cutting tool of some sort. You'll want a way to carry water, a way to filter some water, like a Sawyer filter, life straw, something like that.
hmm
Um, your sleep system can be as simple as just a pillow and a couple trash bags, if that's all you can figure out. If you have the right sleeping gear, then you can make that work even better, obviously. Trying to think what else. Small first aid kit if you can pre-plan this stuff. Um, I would say in that first aid kit have something for blisters for your feet. Blisters, duct tape, like band-aids and duct tape and stuff. Um,
Did
Possibly
you
a
put
way
any
to,
kind of food?
yeah, I would say probably so there's two schools of thought. There's the dehydrated stuff, which is good, it's light, right? But it also requires you to have
Right.
more water. Uh so you're carrying more water to rehydrate it. Um but it never really hurts to have more, well, sometimes it hurts to have more water, but it's rarely a bad idea to have more water. Then
Right.
or you could go with like MREs, which they're ready to go.
hmm
You don't have to cook them. You don't have to use water other than, to digest them. So you're not carrying more water just necessarily. But they are heavier. Um, so you have knife, means of defense, pistol or something would be ideal.
hmm
Because you're not trying to hunt necessarily when you're bugging out. You're trying to get to another place. Um, some sort of way to waterproof your gear too, which could be the trash bags that you brought along with you.
hmm Or canvas. I mean, if you're gonna get a bag, canvas could help too.
Yeah.
Canvas
Um,
swells, not allowing any water to kind of seep in, that kind of stuff.
I think those are kind of the big ones for maybe
No,
some way of communication. If you
that
have like radio or ham radio, two-way radios, that kind of stuff.
yeah. No, that's awesome stuff. Jesse, you got anything?
Oh, not really. No, that's, I wanted to talk about that a little bit just because I was thinking about it more and more. And I just, you see the people, just natural disasters. You got to have, if you plan stuff, it's going to go easier for you. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because you look at the
Absolutely.
people in Maui and the fires, and probably a lot of those people, if they had plans, and I'm not saying that they didn't, but a lot of them probably weren't prepared for something like that, and shit really went sideways for them. So,
No,
it's not
100%.
just about the world ending. It's about just having a plan for your family,
Yeah.
and, being able, if you do have to leave the house, being able to get the fuck out of there fast and have your shit together.
Right. Absolutely, man.
So, and I got my little stuff for camping, and camping's like a good way to practice, because, you get an idea of, if you're going to go out there and you're going to do catch and cook and not bring much food, you're going to get a really good idea of what you need, and, organization skills. And like, I have a little wet bag. What are those bags called? The little rubber bags that you seal the
Dry
top
bag?
and they float in like a river. Dry bag. So I got one of those, like, it's my fishing bag. I got a fishing net inside of it, and I got like panko and flour and like spices. So it's like, if I catch something, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I got my stuff to cook right there. But it's just stuff
Oh,
like that. That's
absolutely.
all I wanted.
No, that's good
Yeah.
stuff. Well, it's a good thing what you said about camping. 100%, dude. That's kind of like, it's a dry run. It's kind of like just you're putting yourself in a scenario where, all right, well, I don't have a shelter over me. What do I need? And it's like every time you go out, you always kind of learn something new, or oh man, I'm gonna get this, or I'm gonna add this to my bag, or this or that.
Exactly.
It
Every
doesn't have to
time.
be big, it could be
Every
something
time.
small, but it could be something small and it could have multiple uses. And remember, like, one thing too that Louis taught me is that if you're gonna get something, like, get it with the purpose of it serving multiple different things, like, which then it saves you space, number one, and it it saves you a hassle of carrying a bunch of different things. But that's all good stuff for sure. It was a good way to end the show, especially if we're talking about apocalypse and all kinds of different possible events that could go on. And I'm sure 6 months from now we'll come out with another apocalypse episode with some other new theories because of some other new shit that we found, or this new article came out about this, or oh my gosh, this
Sky is falling. The sky falling.
But it's a good show. Awesome stuff, boys. I had a really good time. We're going to conclude the episode. Appreciate everyone for following that did on Twitch. Anyone who's listening, if you could also go ahead on Twitch and, shoot us a follow. We do follow back. We don't forget about you guys 100%. We like to, give back as we get. So, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate the love. Go ahead, like, follow, and share with your friends. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. And we will see you on the next one.